What does this mean for the businesses that are suffering? Joining us now is Harry Fone, who's Grassroots Campaign Manager at the Taxpayers Alliance. And Harry, really, how much trouble are we in as we try to return to normality?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we've seen some figures today from the Office of National Statistics looking at the hospitality industry, which is one of these sectors that has been greatly affected by the pingdemic, as we're now branding it, where staff are forced into isolation. In fact, we heard Rick Stein's family who were complaining about this recently, and given the hurdles that pubs and restaurants and the hotel sectors have had to jump through jump over in recent months, from screens, moving tables apart, social distancing, all that thing. They're only at 70% of the pre-pandemic levels in terms of trading. And when you consider that this is an industry, the hospitality industry contributes billions and billions to the UK economy every year. It is absolutely vital, and they have been completely battered by this, and that's why we're calling on the government to lend them a helping hand and help this struggling sector.
And in terms of the track and trace, would you want to see that completely scrapped? Do you think there are people out there, which I suspect, are sort of cynically faux pinging and saying to their offices or their workplaces, "Oh, do you know what? I've been pinged. I really can't come in. I must self-isolate."
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I think we've seen, if you look at the hospitality sector, you've got a lot of people who are in college or at university, and they have a part-time job, in this industry, and yet it just takes one person at their university or college to come back with a positive test for whatever reason. Be it, I think there's a story doing the rounds that people have worked out a way to make the test return a positive result, and that in effect has a huge knock-on because pubs are just starting to enjoy Freedom Day, and you can go back and order at a bar. But if they haven't got the staff there in the first place, in some cases they simply can't open. It's one of the reasons why we're calling for the current VAT reduction to be extended to April 2023, because I think if we don't do that, the economy, certainly the hospitality sector of the economy and many others, are really going to struggle to find their feet again.
Well, it's interesting because we were all assuming that from today everything would just take off and in fact you'd be deluged with work and everybody would be working at 120%. You're saying that's just not possible to happen?
Well, it's not necessarily not possible, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be taking off like we hope so. As I say, the figures from the ONS showing hospitality sector only at 70% of pre-pandemic levels. We'd like to see that get back to 100%, if not higher, as soon as possible, because, as I say, the pubs and restaurants, hotels, all that sort of thing contribute a huge tens and tens of billions to the UK economy every year. Now, that in part may have been helped by the government's reduction in VAT on a lot of those services from 20% to 5%. But that's ending at the end of September, on the 30th of September, and that's why we're keen to see that continue. We can't keep going through these scenarios where the pubs and restaurants can't function properly. Otherwise, we're never going to get out of this mess. So there aren't easy answers, but the government should be trying to do everything possible to help these struggling sectors.
Now, just briefly, I've already sort of made my views known on the fact that I think there might be a few faux pings being deployed at the moment. What is your sense of the level of fraud, actually, during the pandemic, with people trying to opportunise getting grants or loans or whatever it may be during this pandemic?
Yeah, some of the figures we've seen are quite staggering. I think there was a report out from the Public Accounts Committee a couple of weeks ago suggesting that the fraud levels were I think in the tens of billions. I want to say 50 billion. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it was an absolutely staggering amount of money. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy for the government. They had to sort of, because of what happened, 12, 15 months ago now, they had to try and come up with a catch-all system to try and help, businesses that were going to be heavily affected by the pandemic. But that said, they've absolutely got to come down like a ton of bricks on companies that have exploited that generosity, because at the end of the day, this is taxpayers' money, and it's taxpayers that will be footing the bill for this. So any firms that have or individuals that have exploited this should very much be brought to justice. And in a similar way, we've seen a number of firms who did claim it and then actually realised, okay, we didn't need this government support, and they're paying it back. So I think any firms that can do that, taxpayers are going to have a long memory of those that helped in the public effort and those that didn't.
Harry, it's really good to speak to you this afternoon. Harry Fone there from Taxpayers Alliance. Thanks so much for your time.